going to wait for that.
Da-da.
Blocked worldwide. Because there was that whole, like, Extreme Evo boost was, like, blocked worldwide by the company that, like, wasn't it
the Korean, it was the weirdest. It was like the Korean anime rights holder that distributes the anime across, like, Korea.
And I think a few other parts
was
of it.
blocking Extreme Evo Boost in the game. And it was a worldwide block, which is funny because it's not like Extreme Evo Boost in the games had anything to do with the anime.
The funny thing is, I think when the anime got to, like, that point, it depicted the Z move in a completely different way. Anyway, did someone say field trip?
So, explain what we're doing here.
Am I recording with the DLC?
Yeah, I was getting to that. Other explanation, you have to buy the DLC for Scarlet and Violet separately.
Yeah.
$35 a piece.
So, it's at least both the Teal Mask and Indigo Disc together, so, you know, that's nice.
It's one purchase for both DLC packs for a game.
Yeah.
But we had to pay for Scarlet and Violet separately, because we own both games.
Yes.
I'm just making a point. Carson's getting a few days after my recording because it kept storming here. And to answer that other question, CPU usage is down.
The funny thing about actually going to not use the gold dingo for as long as I possibly can. Where the fuck is my other team member then? Actually, no wait, the gold dingo was actually part of the original team, so he'll sit in the back because of the EV training and shit.
That was that original team, but it's that one you did some EV training on?
So I'll just leave it, that in the back for the time, for the time being. If shit, like, in the DLC does absolutely frustrate me, I will say fuck it and, you know, throw out the gold dingo, but I am going to try to leave it there because I can't really remember, because that was the one I used in the story. How did I undo that one's EV training? Because, you know, this would have been long before the DLC and shit, so what was the way you cleared EVs and shit before?
There are EV reducing berries.
That was it.
Those always exist.
That was how I did the thing.
No, we talked about this. There are berries that reduce EVs.
Yeah.
And I said, by RNG, if you just go get a bunch of berries.
And the other convenient fact of, at the time, a little bit before, I think it was a little bit before the Walking Wake and Iron Leaves, they had a, like, I don't remember what raid it was. I think it was Snorlax or, like, what's the Gen 8 squirrel?
Greedent.
Yeah, Greedent. I think it was like Snorlax or Greedent. They had a raid.
It wasn't Snorlax.
I think it was Greedent then.
Snorlax isn't in the game.
Wasn't in the base game. It's in the game now.
Now, yeah.
So I believe it was Greedent then. There was some raid that gave you a fuck ton of berries.
Snorlax is in the DLC.
So because there was a raid that gave you a fuck ton of berries, it just happened to have a lot because Greedent is was fairly easy to slaughter.
You can get EV reducing berries, but EV reducing berries are sometimes a pain to find.
Yeah.
The mochi is just more convenient because the idea is one mochi. One of those white mochi, we talked about this in my playthrough. It is literally, you eat the one mochi, all the EVs are deleted.
Yeah.
That is the most convenient fucking... They're taking a step in the right direction for competitive. No, we just need Kudo.
It's not going to
PK
happen.
Hex fans are gonna be happy.
It's not.
Nudge, nudge, wink. Wink.
Because we're already talking about it, unless he has said something on Twitter about it, it still hasn't happened yet. I honestly believe what he was talking about was the mochi, because because the mochi takes the place of the vitamins, and you have the resetting mochi, which is new, because beforehand, like, said it was the EV reducing berries, but those would only reduce one stat at a time, whereas it's one
or that thing Sword and Shield did.
Or there's one mochi, so everything gone.
Because that thing in Sword and Shield that I feel people got a little bit too butthurt over.
Alright.
The thing in Sword and Shield's DLC...
Oh yeah, wasn't it there was someone who could...
In the Isle of Armor, and I've argued with people who do not believe this woman exists, because sometimes, due to the render distance, she doesn't load. There is a woman on a, like, small, little, like, archipelago, like, mini island thing. You walk to her, and you pay her an Armorite ore, and she tactically nukes all the EVs in a Pokemon.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Because she is literally just off in a corner.
And people got butthurt, and there was all this semi-clickbait of, like... And there is some truth to this, but it always bothered me of the clickbait of, like, Game Freak makes you pay $35 to reset EVs.
Oh, and that's a thing of... It's one of those... They're kind of in an unwinnable scenario, because using the mochi as an example in this, it's like... They give you the mochi, which is infinitely easier to get than the vitamins, because you just have to play that one minigame, and, you know, the one minigame, it's free, so because you
It's not free.
You do have to pay to actually pay...
The first time is free. I'm pretty sure every other run-through is a few thousand.
But even then, that would still be...
Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that's a thing.
But even then, if that is a thing, that would still be less expensive than the... vitamins, because isn't one of the vitamins 10,000, and if this is like 1,000 or 2 or 3, it
would be infinitely cheaper.
You're paying
at the cost.
You're paying like a third of the price, and you can potentially get several of every type. So even if it is costing money, it is one of those, the like money and shit it costs is infinitely cheaper, but basically it's one of those, if they, you know, fix this problem with the DLC and do it, you people will complain that the game is pay to win now. But if they don't fix it, you people will complain that they don't care and that they never fixed this thing.
Well, this goes back to the thing that got said in Sword and Shield, which is like, there should have just been an EV, like, remover person in the base game. Throwing it in the DLC is so stupid. Mm-hmm. And it's this, like, why wasn't the mochi in the base game? Kind of thing. It's like, fixing it isn't the problem. It's the fact that they fixed it and paid a DLC. So everyone gets butthurt that the feature that should have been in the base game is a paid feature. Because people are like, it's a good... quality of life. And everyone loves the quality of life. But the thing is, because the quality of life is in DLC, it's this like, why didn't they just put this in the base game, those skeevy bastards? Because when you look at it that way, it's this idea of, oh, you're charging people for the convenience. And that makes people way angrier. And everyone always goes on about, like, oh, you come up with these cool ideas. It's like, a better way for this game, more than Sword and Shield, is like, Sword and Shield already had an NPC that deletes EVs. So it's like, why didn't you just have an NPC that does that?
If Sword and Shield had something like that in the base game, why did they add the one person in the DLC then?
Well, no. I'm wording that weird. They weren't in the base game. They were in the DLC.
Uh.
But what I mean is people talk...
It's the, like, classic thing the internet does if it's, like, Sword and Shield. Okay, it's like, you know, new engine, first time on a home console, and stuff, you're still learning shit. Because you added it in Sword and Shield's DLC, you should have known that a feature like this should have just been in the base Scarlet and Violet.
It's not just someone in the school just deletes EVs. Or if you want it to be an item, for convenience, just to have an item that you could have multiple of. No, that wasn't in the base Sword and Shield. It's in the DLC, but we have the DLC. Because we...
Yeah.
I have the DLC for Sword and Shield. Same idea. My point. It was more about people point out, okay, you do this in Sword and Shield in the DLC.
God damn it, game.
So it's like, okay, you had it in the DLC. It's like, you made Scarlet and Violet. Why didn't you just throw the, like, quality of life into the next game? And then we have the whole dumb thing about Ku. PK Hex fans are gonna be heavy.
I'm actually going to go around and fight things. You know, let's use the bug. I haven't used the bug in a while.
That's what I want to know. I didn't completely talk about it in my book. PK Hex fans are gonna be heavy. Oh, speaking of bugs.
I still take this as Ku being a filthy liar. There's not going to be any PK Hex like feature or whatever. Ku did the big lie.
To follow that up, so that we can make a very specific point, even if I didn't say it in my run, even if this goes up later in the year, meaning about the time this footage goes up, might actually be when the Indigo Disc
Indigo Disc might actually be out.
The Indigo Disc is not out at the moment. I am making a distinction. If this footage goes up later, because I'm just throwing it in after the main Let's Play for Scarlet and Violet, we're making jokes about Ku because the Indigo Disc is not out. We're recording this when the Teal Mask appeared. The Teal Mask is out, Indigo Disc is not out yet. And I have to make this distinction, even if people didn't completely pay attention, it's so I can say it on the recording. Making jokes about Ku.
That's why I was like wandering off. I wanted to see how far I could go before the game pulls me back. That and, you know, items and shit.
We're making jokes about Ku, but we haven't seen the Indigo Disc yet. And if Ku said things that are accurate, they might be in the Indigo Disc. And I will give the one caveat when making fun of Ku.
You know, is that, like, there is still a thing of DLC, but as the internet does, we have...
a lot of the data mines for Pokemon.
And because of that,
not specifically any features, items, or any other weird changes.
Oh.
Because this is where the Ku thing gets kind of weird. Is even with a list of Pokemon, that doesn't inherently mean certain other...
one thing I feel like that proves... The one thing I feel like that proves he is most likely wrong and full of shit is in the listing and stuff we have, like, Basically for Galapagos, and I believe the reason people think it's Galapagos is it's like in the Pokédex right after like Ogerpon and shit, so that's why it seems like it would be the legendary or something. Basically, the slot that people think is the slot that people think is Galapagos in the DLC has like 2 basically other slots around it, which seem to be its like either terrestrial form or standard forms, and if it's like terrestrial forms or something, shouldn't that mean in like the data mine people should realize why was a slot added after like Sudowoodo or something?
With a caveat of the data that people are getting for the Indigo Disc is somewhat incomplete. And if it's a very specific terrestrial form or weird sub-mechanic, it might not be fully listed in that back-end code.
Because, like, I'd have to go look at what the, like, list and stuff. Oh, yeah, I gotta give away perhaps after a certain point. Unga Bunga!
Water-type Fire Blitz.
They should do, like, half my health. Didn't even drop me to half, puny fox.
Yeah.
Anyway, and that's why is that I will be fair and say the one thing that has like 2 slots around it, because all of the data mine shit, at least right now, I don't know if any more advancements have been made, all of the data mine shit people have right now is technically just empty slots without a name. So again, the 1, like the 2 around it,
data from the Indigo Disc,
I seem to remember people just thinking
it was a few Pokemon slots for
like how in the how a lot of people think Dipplin is actually going to get an evolution because there's a blank slot between not Ogerpon, Okidogi and Dipplin.
It's time for the question of the day and my overall thoughts on the topic. So anyway, how do you feel about Ku basically covering his ass a few months ago by saying, oh, I wasn't lying, I saw all of these cool things. Game Freak must have simply cut out all the cool things I saw. That's the only logical explanation to why all the stuff I was leaking basically wasn't true. I'm sorry, dude. You're clearly lying, or Game Freak is clearly super incompetent, or maybe we'll meet in the middle and you saw a bunch of pitch documents that were basically never intended to be actual things in the game, and you basically leaked a bunch of ideas from these pitch documents, which would mean your leaks were based on simple pitches and not concrete ideas for the game, which does seem likely, or you're completely lying outright, which also seems likely, because otherwise Game Freak is wasting a lot of development and cutting all of these cool, interesting ideas, because I even gave you the benefit of the doubt and basically assumed when you set a PK Hex mode that the game would have a digital team editor where you could actually create at least one digital-only rental team, which this team or teams would be able to participate in the online battles, including ranked, but this team effectively would not exist and would likely count as a slightly different rental, or this team, if you gave it to another person, would be grouped into their rental teams, but for your own personal use, you would likely have access to a few slots of digital-only teams that you could create yourself, and if you gave them out, then these digital-only teams could be mixed into the normal rentals, since at that point it would be no different than renting someone else's team. And I do think if they implemented a digital-only team builder, that for your own use, you would likely have a couple of slots to create a couple of teams. And then these teams would basically be teams you could edit and change as much as you wanted. And this system would be a good way to let a lot of people that don't have a lot of time actually participate in ranked battles, because you could easily create a team in just a couple of minutes and constantly tweak that team without really needing a lot of work in order to make changes to that team. And when it comes to Ku, I was willing to give him at least somewhat of the benefit of the doubt and go, oh, he probably means they're letting us finally have some type of digital-only team builder where you can create a team and give that team out as a rental team, but that didn't even happen, which makes me think that Ku is a chronic liar, or Ku had access to a bunch of pitch documents, and every supposed leak of these pitch documents was basically leaking possible ideas that never ended up in the game in the first place, or Game Freak is actually developing and throwing out tons of cool, unique ideas, but it's most likely the whole pitch document thing, and I've complained about this a few times, but that really does seem to be the case, that his supposed leaks are either complete and utter lies, or he's leaking a bunch of pitch documents that are simply ideas being pitched around, and none of these ideas were ever given the green light to actually be put in the game, or Game Freak really is throwing out tons of ideas and development because Ku acted like, oh, I saw these things, I swear they're real, but that would mean that something is a little bit fishy here, and I'm not sure what. But anyway, you can leave your thoughts, opinions, and answers in the comments, or you can leave them on social media. All of my social media links, as well as my Discord links, are in the video description. Now, as always, I need to be a shill for a minute. If you're subscribed to the channel, and if you follow me on social media, that really helps our communities grow. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed the video, and I hope I will see you all next time. So, as always, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, or good night, everybody. I hope you come back someday. See you later.